Hey guys, Parfax here, and today is my Battle Mage video. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so I'm here in New World, and we have another build video for you. Now, I'm trying to make these videos a lot quicker, so we're going to make sure we do this as quick as possible. So we're not going to go into complete in-depth analysis of each skill, each passive, everything like that. We're going to go over gear, attributes, skill tree, everything like that, and then we're going to have clips at the end if you want to see some PvP action. All right, first I will say this is mainly for PvP, but this focuses on basically being melee, Void Gauntlet, and ranged fire staff to kind of make up for the, the Void Gauntlet itself doesn't do a ton of range damage. You can make it do a little bit, but it really thrives when you're actually doing melee combat. So to kind of counteract that, we're going to use the fire staff to be our ranged DPS with some melee fire shenanigans in there as well. All right, so first let's talk about the skill trees. We're going to go over to the Void Gauntlet. And this is a very standard tree. Now we have two pieces over here. We have Deadly Range and we have Radiant Efficiency. Now I like this passive right here. Deadly Range really to me doesn't do anything for me, but we really do want this Radiant Efficiency. If you don't want this node, which I suggest you take it, you can put 2 points here instead of here, but let's be honest, Efficient Harvest isn't really that good anyway. We don't have that much mana issues the way we have our build currently set up, especially if you have mana potions. But if you want to be super self-sufficient, you can go Efficient Harvest instead of these two and then get yourself a little bit of extra self-healing with Leeching Blade. The Leeching Blade is okay. It's nothing spectacular. And of course, we are going Void Collar. It's just a really good, ultimate here. It's going to give us back some healing, and we're basically filling out the rest of the tree. And let's move over to the Fire Staff. Now, the Fire Staff is going to look a little different than a lot of people. We're not taking the Rune of Helios. We are taking the Reheat. We are swapping back and forth between our Fire Staff and our Void Gauntlet, and it's going to allow us to really regenerate a lot of our mana. We're taking some pretty much normal passives over here. We are taking Incinerate going all the way down. This is going to be our biggest damaging spell we have out of both weapons. Now, the Void Gauntlet's going to output a little bit more damage because it does have that Void Blade, but if you actually get a chance to hit a big Incinerate on people, it'll absolutely nuke them. You can hit people for 4,000 with it. It's like hitting a light attack on a bow, but AoE. So then we're curse running Burnout and Fireball. Both are very standard. Both are really good. Taking on the passives here. And if you don't know how this works, essentially it's just whenever you haven't cast a fire staff spell in the 4 seconds, once you've done it, you will get some really nice regen. So let's talk about the attributes because it's a little bit different than what you normally see. So we're gonna go over here, and if you look, we have 302 intelligence, 50 focus, and 100 constitution. Now, you can go 50 dexterity, you can go 50 strength. 50 strength's a little bit worse because it will really only benefit your Void Gauntlet. I'm pretty sure, I've never actually tested it, but 5% melee damage. I mean, your Void Gauntlet's melee, you can do that. But the reason why we go focus is for a couple reasons. One, this is going to buff up our Void Gauntlet. It's going to give us a little bit extra scaling. And two, we get 10% mana regen rate. We are a double mana heavy class. We're running Fire Staff, which is pretty mana intensive, and then we're running our Void Gauntlet, which is very mana intensive. And this is just going to give us an extra 10% mana while we're doing it, and it scales our weapon as well. Now, we will be putting points into focus strictly because of the weapon we are wearing on the Void Gauntlet is something that anybody can craft as long as you're a 200 Arcana, guaranteed 600. It's a really good weapon. And we had focus points in there, and I was testing around with like dexterity and stuff like that, but we decided on 50 focus because it buffs up the Void Gauntlet and makes our mana regen a little bit better. And then we're going 100 points constitution. Now, we do have 40 points to play here, 48 to be exact, because we're going to have 40 food, and if you get 600 on all your pieces of gear, it'll give us another 8 points. We do have pretty high gear here. We'll talk about in a second, but we could put another 50 points into Constitution if we want to, which is probably what I would do if we filled everything out. You would like some extra damage, but the extra damage really is only going to benefit the Fire Staff. If you wanted to put an extra 50 points into focus, I can see that too. It'll scale up your Void Gauntlet a little bit more, give you more self-healing, and will give you a little bit of mana, but we probably just want the extra tankiness from the extra 50 points of Constitution. Now, until you get the extra 50 points, I just stack it in intelligence. If you like right now, if I had food, I would just do intelligence food, keep the con there, because until we can get the maxed out amount of points we have to get up to that 150 points of constitution, we're just going to want to put all the points into intelligence. So we talked a little bit about gear. Let's first talk about the weapons. Now, I am running double legendaries. Now, the first one we have here is Nothingness. This one's a pretty easy craft. The requirements for it aren't that much. The biggest thing is getting the Void Crystal Core. On my server that I'm currently on, Eden, it is very cheap to buy one of these, but it does need a few extra mats. But this is a very, very good weapon if you don't want to have to roll it and wait for the RNG. Lifestealing's okay. Enchanted's really, really good. But part of, you see there, we have intelligence and focus, which is cool for the Void Gauntlet, but for the fire staff, it doesn't really help. That's part of the reason why we are stacking 50 points into into focus. But I still think even if I didn't have this, after testing around with it, I would still put that 50 points in there, because it's just going to give us a lot of extra healing because of how the Void Gauntlet's healing side, most of it scales on focus. Then here we got the fire staff. We just have an intelligence, vicious, chain fire. Vicious, if you actually do keen, it's actually a little better. The fire staff doesn't crit that often. Getting that extra crit chance would be really huge. I would rather that be keen. Keen, vicious, and enchanted are probably the three best you can have on here. But getting one or two of those stats is great, and then chain fire is pretty good itself. And then we are running the medium load here. So I've been playing around a lot with light, and I played around with heavy, and medium is a very good balance in the current meta. Right now we have a lot of snipers with muskets, we have bows and great axe warhammer. There's not a ton of mages going around. There's, you know, you don't have to worry about dodging as much, where you're gonna be dodging a lot, but you still, if you're in light armor, you can almost get one shot by some of these, you know, not mages, but these musket users and bow users. So we're going medium, and it feels really, really good. Now we are running heavy helm, void bent, heavy chest, void bent. You don't have to do void bent, it's just what I had, and I didn't have, you know, I didn't want to have to buy these pieces. But we are looking for resilient, because we are going to be in the fray. We're going to be taking a lot more shots than you typically would on a mage. Resilient is really, really important, especially right now with the amount of musket users and bow. They're really wanting those headshots, and this is going to help you mitigate a lot of that damage. And then we're just going down. We have resilient, nothing else. We have resilient and nothing else, and resilient and nothing else. Of course, if you can get the Void Gauntlet passives, the one that makes your Oblivion, I forget the trait is on Oblivion, but that's really good. And the big one is if you can get Petrifying Scream, the one that does the healing debuff, where you, I think 50% heal cut. It's absolutely insane. Those two, if you can get those on your gear, would be absolutely crazy, but I just couldn't. And the big thing here is you do want an intelligence necklace, or you can go con too, but make sure we're only putting 100 points into constitution. But the big thing here is we want the health passive. You have 9.3% more maximum health. That is absolutely insane. You want it, you want it, you want it. This gives you such a defensive bonus. This is the best perk you can get on your amulet, in my opinion. And we do have mana recovery. When you are hit while below 50% mana, gain 95 mana, and then it has a very long cooldown. It's okay. It was kind of the only amulet that I could find that had double, you know, double good stats on there for me, but still pretty good. And then we have our intelligence, fire damage, and leeching. Honestly, to be better here would be like a keen. You want that crit damage, but this is just kind of what I had laying around. I had it crafted a while ago. And keen here is really what you want. And then, you know, you can get your normal defenses and stuff like that. And then we're running an earring with refreshing ward and refreshing toast. Refreshing toast is just singularly the best perk in the game for an earring. The potion cooldown by 26% is absolutely insane. There's so much extra healing you get from being able to hit your potions faster. There's no one that can convince me the refreshing toast isn't just the best perk you can get. Honestly, other than that, who cares? Refreshing ward is a little bit good. Like I said, we're gonna be in the fray. We're gonna be hitting a lot, getting hit a lot. And refreshing ward does lower our cooldowns a little bit, but we're not really relying on that at all. Really, it's the intelligence and refreshing toast. But feel free here. You can get focus, you can get intelligence, or con. Just make sure after everything's all said and done, you can have that balance between the three. So I know a lot of people are go, oh no, I have to get just intelligence on my gear. That's not true. You can get con. I mean, as you see, I'm running 2 pieces of con here. You just got to make sure after everything's said and done that your attributes are right where they need to be. All right, now that we have talked about the build, we've went over everything from gear, attributes, the weapons, everything like that. Let's talk about how you play this build a little bit. So first, we are going to be mainly relying on our Void Gauntlet whenever we get into the fray, whenever we get close to people. The Void Gauntlet Scream is absolutely insane. The one thing to keep in mind when you're putting down your Oblivion is don't just instantly put it down. And I've done this a few times, but you want to make sure you put it down in the right scenario. Like, especially if you're going against another Void Gauntlet, fight them, let them put theirs down, move out of their Void Gauntlet, then put yours down. Because if you just put both of yours down at the same time, you're just canceling out and no one's really getting a benefit from it. But if you can draw people out of it, you can absolutely get the big advantage from having your Oblivion down at a time. And of course, when it comes down to it, pull out the blade, and we are just going to be stacking our dots. And this blade hits really hard. I'm sure you guys have all seen it. You guys have all been clapped by the amount of just sheer pressure the Void Gauntlet can put out, which is funny considering it's like a support weapon. But it's really, really good, and we're really going to rely on it whenever we are up close and personal. Other than that, we are just going to be on our Fire Staff. If we are at range, do not be on your Void Gauntlet. We want to be on the Fire Staff. The Fire Staff, we are going to get no mana cost for doing our heavy attacks, which is going to keep our mana high. We're going to be able to hit our fireballs from ranged, and we're going to use our burnout not only to get away, but we are going to use it very offensively with this build. So a lot of times what I like to do is I'll go in, I'll throw a fireball, I'll burn out, and then if they are stunned or I can feel like I can get off and incinerate, I'll incinerate. Now, the one thing you don't want to do, and I've done this a lot, is try to incinerate when you have like a great axe or a warhammer in front of you, because they're just going to CC you out of it. There's no need to actually do that. One thing you can do is you can swap to your back bar, you can scream at them, you can pop around to the back, and then you can hit the incinerate. I've done that a lot, and it works really, really well. But like I said, try not to just use your incinerate on cooldown, because it's going to get you stuck. It's going to get you killed, essentially. Now, the one thing about this build, the kind of only downside to it, is if you go against a really good bow musket player, you're just not going to be able to catch him. Pretty much nothing can catch bow, especially in the game right now. That's going to be no exception to this build, and they're going to outrange you. So try to make sure you line of sight them, kite them around rocks, kite them around trees. Make sure you're doing that, but you're going to be able to take a lot of damage from them. They'll get really cocky because they're like, oh, you're just a mage. And they'll come in and they'll try to use their rapier or their spear. When they do that, you have them right where you want them, because they are not going to out melee you. If you get decent with this build, make sure we have medium armor. So we actually have 3 dodges before we even get our exhaustion buff on there, unlike if you're running light armor without the hardy perk. So make sure you're using your dodges to dodge their skill shots and get around them, because as soon as they get into melee range, if you can hit them with a scream and get their backside, you can just start light attacking them for 2,000. It is just absolutely crazy. I don't even have like anything crazy on my Void Gauntlet, and it is a 600, so it does do a lot of base damage. But once you start getting the really good perks on here, especially, you know, getting like the keen and the vicious and stuff like that, it is going to absolutely rip. All right, guys, that's the build. We have all the PvP clips coming up right after here. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. We tried to make it a little bit shorter. Typically, these go 20-25 minutes, and I didn't want to have that for you guys. If you want it, you know, things explained more, if you want longer clips, let me know in the comment section down below, but I tried to speed it up for you, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy the PvP clips after this. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.